Hi everyone. Again, we will continue our classes in Essentials of Mathematics. Now we will start chapter 6. That's about solutions to quadratic equations. In this video, we will be talking about quadratic equations by factorization. Actually, we have already studied this topic, but we are just going to do some revision. And the 6.2 quadratic equations by using completing the square methods. Introduction. The waterfall in this picture below falls down from a hill to a pond. If the height h meters of a particular droplet of water above the water level of the pond t seconds after leaving the top of the hill can be represented by h equals 125 plus 2t minus 5t squared. Can we find the time taken by the droplet of water to reach the surface of the pond? To find, we need to solve the equation 125 plus 2t minus 5t squared equals 0. All right, this is just one problem, how actually quadratic equations are used, or we should study to solve this kind of problem. And that is one problem in physics, as you hear, one droplet of water, it's just falling from the top, actually from this, what is it, this hill, and the motion of this water droplet is modeled by this equation. For example, t is in seconds. Every second, for example, t equals 0. That's equal to 125. That means that at the beginning, it was 125 meters high, right? And after each second, for example, when t equals 1, when t equals 5, when t equals 10, if we just substitute and evaluate this, it gives us the height of this waterfall, or how long did it travel, okay? Anyway, when you just model the motion or movement of this waterfall, actually we get the quadratic equation, okay? And to answer the question, when, after how many seconds does it reach the pond? Here, we have to solve this equation, because when it reaches the pool here, the distance will be 0. Okay, solving quadratic equation by factorization. This is revision. Quadratic equation is an equation of the form ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, where a, b, and c are real numbers and a is not equal to 0. Okay, this condition is really important, because if a equals 0 and substitute here, a 0 times x squared is 0, it just becomes a linear equation. Okay, we have already studied actually about linear equations. Now here we are going to talk about quadratic equation. That's why a should be different from 0. So we will begin this chapter by revising what we have learned earlier. Solve the following equations by factorization. The first one, to factorize this, first we have to bring this into the standard form. That standard form is, bring this into this form, ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Then we have to factorize this, right? And so here, when I just bring this into this form, here we will have 2x squared minus 7x is equal to 0. And we know how to factorize this. Just x is a common factor, and we can write it as 2x minus 7. X times 2x minus 7 equals 0, right? Here we have something is multiplied by something. So that means that this x should be equal to 0, or 2x minus 7 should be equal to 0. And solving these linear equations, we will get the solution to this quadratic equation. So the first root is equal to 0, or the second solution or second root of this quadratic equation is 7 over 2. Right? And how about question B? And question B is a little bit more challenging. 3x squared minus 5x minus 8 is equal to 0. It's already in standard form, right? And how do we factorize this? As you see here, the coefficient of x squared is not equal to 1. So let me just try this. We can write it as 3x times x. Now we need to write this 8 as a product of two numbers in such a way that when we cross multiply these numbers and add them up, it should give us -3, right? So for example, if I write here, let's say 4, -2, right? It is -6 plus 4, -2. It doesn't work. And how about if we would here minus, for example, it is 6 minus 4, again it is 2, it doesn't work. And how about if we have right here 4, it is 8 and 2, it doesn't work, right? And how about if we write here 8 and 5, I think it works, right? So here, let's write here -8 and 1. -8 times 1, it is -8. 3x times x, it is 3x squared. And if you cross multiply, right, and draw a line here, x times -8, -8x, 3x times 1, it is 3x. If you just add them together, it is -5x, which is equal to the middle term. So we can factorize this quadratic equation as 3x minus 8 and then x plus 1 is equal to 0. Right? Now we have something here, a times b is equal to 0, since actually we are looking for the real solution, right? Either a or b should be equal to 0. Now from here, the solution of this quadratic equation, x equals 8/3, or x is equal to -1. Okay. And how about question C? In question C, it is factorized, but actually on the right hand side we have 5, right? It is not 0 here. So first we have to bring this into the standard form. Then we have to factorize it. Then we will solve this equation. If you remove the left hand side, we expand this 2x times x, that is 2x squared, and 2x times -2, it is -4x, and -1 times x, -1x, then their sum is -5x, -1 times -2, it is +2, and on the also here we have 5. All right, let's just keep this. Let's try one more time. Here we have 2x squared minus 5x minus 3 is equal to 0. Now on the right hand side we have 0, right? So it's also a prime number. When it is prime, it's quite easy to factorize this quadratic equation. You can write it as 2x times x. Also 3 is a prime number. I can write it either as 1 times 3 or 3 times 1. So here we have 5. So I can write it as here 1, 3, right? It is minus. So here I put minus. Make sure that 2x times x gives us this term, and 1 times -3, it gives us constant term. Now if you cross multiply, as we here, 2x times -3, -6, x times 1, it is x, their sum is -5x. So we can factorize it as 2x plus 1 and x minus 3 is equal to 0. So the solution of this quadratic equation are x equals -half or x is equal to 3. Okay. Next question, example 2, find the quadratic equation in x whose roots are 2 and -3/4. Okay. In general, if you are asked to form a quadratic equation whose roots are, let's say, x1 and x2, you can just use this equation, x minus x1 and x minus x2 is equal to 0, right? It's a quadratic equation. As you see here, if you substitute x1 into x here, x1 minus x1 is equal to 0. 0 times anything equals 0. That means that x1 is a solution of this quadratic equation. And at the same time, if you just substitute this x sub 2 into this equation, x sub 2 minus x sub 2 is equal to 0, and 0 times anything equals 0, right? Only these two numbers make the left-hand side of this equation 0. If you just substitute anything else, it will not be equal to 0. That means that these are the only solutions of this quadratic equation. So if you are given the roots of the quadratic equation, Using this form, we can construct a quadratic equation. And after that, we can expand this and write it in a standard form. Okay, so here in this case, the first root of the equation is 2, and the second root is negative 3 over 4. So in our example, x1 is equal to 2, and x2 is equal to minus 3 over 4. So if I just substitute here, then we will have x minus, the first root is 2, so I write here 2, and x minus second root is minus 3 over 4 is equal to 0. Or x minus 2 times x minus minus, it is plus 3 over 4 is equal to 0. So now we need to write this in the standard form. If you expand this, x times x, we have x squared, x times 3 over 4 plus 3 over 4x, negative 2 times x, negative 2x, negative 2 times 3 over 4, that is negative 3 over 2 is equal to 0. So how do you simplify this? Before we simplify this, let's just multiply both sides by 4, so that actually all the coefficients will be integers. If you multiply both sides by 4, 4 times x squared, if we have 4x squared, and 4 times 3 over 4, it is 3x, 4 times negative 2, it is negative 8x, 4 times 3 over 2, that is negative 6, is equal to 0. Now we can simplify this, dot, dot, dot. So this quadratic equation, 4x squared minus 5x minus 6 is equal to 0. If you solve this quadratic equation, the roots will be 2 and negative 3 over 4.